Good morning everyone. My name is Domi. Thank you for your patience this morning. Tech gremlins can get the better of us, but what would an event be without that? So welcome to Creative Mornings. This is the reboot of the chapter. We haven't had an event in more than 3 years. And I'm your new chapter host. And I think just before I kick off, I really just want to say that it's been such an awesome ride jumping on and onboarding to Creative Mornings. I've had really great support from Creative Mornings HQ in Brooklyn, old and new friends of the Johannesburg chapter. I've been having a lot of conversations with people that have been intrinsically part of Creative Mornings Johannesburg. And I really just look forward to what this chapter will be in future with all of you connecting to us as we go along. I do want to give a shout out to our volunteer team. Everyone that you see up here has really worked hard to kind of get us to the point that we're at today. They've really kind of given all their time, their skills to make sure that Creative Mornings comes together in the best way possible. And if you really want to volunteer with us, please reach out to myself, and you can just send out an email and we can connect with you on becoming a volunteer. Just to give a good overview of what Creative Mornings actually is, we have 238 chapters across the globe, and these are different cities and chapters that are actually live and running, and they're spread across 69 countries, and every month we see audiences of about 27,000 creatives and curious minds coming through. And I guess the important thing to mention with Creative Mornings is that it's a free event. It will always be a free event, and we really just thrive on our partners' generosity and our community's kindness in how the chapters come to life. So to just take you through the manifesto of Creative Mornings, it really encapsulates what we stand for and how we aim to run each chapter. So Creative Mornings is for everyone. And we believe that everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in hugs and high fives. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. So everyone is welcome. Literally everyone is welcome, because we believe everyone is creative. Our theme for October is vision. It was chosen by our Riyadh chapter in Saudi Arabia, and it was illustrated by Razan Al-Shalan. And the premise of the theme is asking questions on how do you see the world, how do you want it to change? You know, vision refers both to the sense of sight and our ability to imagine the future. Are you focused on the little details? Can you see the bigger picture? As we age, our eyesight begins to deteriorate. Seeing objects up close gets more difficult. And as we gain experience, what we want to accomplish evolves. Will your life grow darker or brighter? Every creative act involves seeing something in detail. And just before I hand over to our speaker today, I really just want to give a high five to our partners. WeWork has graciously opened their doors to us this morning, and we'll be having our monthly events here. So thank you to them for being our venue partner. And then we've also got 1410. The team has really been with us from the beginning in how we connected with Creative Mornings HQ, really capturing our journey of what it means to kind of host Creative Mornings for Joburg. And they'll be our production partner for the chapter. And we're open to partnerships. So if you, your business, your team really want to connect with Creative Mornings and what we're about, we're open to having those conversations on how we can share the joy, share kindness, and the generosity through this platform. And speaking of our speaker today, it will be Zee Ntuli. Zee is a filmmaker and a storyteller and a writer. The first I had connected with Zee's work was actually through Joburg Ballet a couple of years ago. I think that was in 2017. And soon after that, I was enthralled by Reka and the work that he had done there. I'm a crime docu fan, crime series fan, so it just kind of captured me, and not just like the crime part of it, but really the cinematography, how it was shot, the craft behind Reka was really quite beautiful to see, and it was nice to also know that it was work done by Zee. I believe in doing people's bios justice, so I will actually give you insight of Zee's work from his own bio. I don't want to bastardize his career and his achievements.
I'm pretty sure that's not necessary.
Are you sure? Okay. Okay, we'll skip the bio, but yeah, Zee, welcome on board. We are looking forward to hearing from you today, and we'll keep it conversational, guys. So I think even if you want to move a bit closer, it would be great on the couches, just to be a bit closer to the conversation. I know Zee will keep it quite light and engaging as well. So I'm just going to hand over to him to kick it off for us.
Cool. Thank you. I'm just gonna need you to disconnect, Ntombi, that I can. Guys, please do move in. It's super important for this whole thing that we're sitting as close together as we can. So please, thank you. It will make sense, I think, I hope. Cool. Oh, amazing. Hi, everyone. How's it going? Yeah, very good, thanks. I'm excited for this. Thank you all for coming. I'm really excited to chat with you all. Thank you, Ntombi, so much for inviting me. It's a huge honor. I don't entirely know why me, but thank you. So the theme of this morning is vision. And, you know, Ntombi told me that we're doing this for Creative Mornings. Creative, so I assumed we're kind of keeping the focus on vision in the creative sense, and so that's what we're going to be talking about. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into it. So, naturally, as one does in 2024, the first thing I did was ask ChatGPT what creative vision is. So ChatGPT said, in the context of creative acts, a vision refers to the unique and personal conceptualization or foresight that an individual brings to a project or work of art. It involves the ability to imagine and project a desired outcome, often guided by a combination of intuition, aesthetic sensibility, and personal philosophy. A creative vision encompasses not only the initial inspiration, but also the framework for how the creator envisions the final piece, blending creativity, purpose, and meaning. And there were a couple of things that jumped out for me here, which were the words personal, individual, and the creator, and how singular the perception of vision is. And I found that a little bit weird. Obviously, as a filmmaker, naturally, you know, it's a collaborative art form. But even within the realm of film, often directors are referred to as visionaries. There's the whole, you know, auteur vibe where people believe that there's one person that dreamt something up and all we see at the end is what they made. And I was like, what? That it doesn't feel entirely right. So I started asking myself, is vision inherently individual, or can it be shaped and shared collectively from the start? Is the shared vision a compromise, or can it be something more than the sum of its parts? So those are the questions that I kind of want to get into today. So I figure, hey, I'm an individual and I'm supposed to have a vision for this talk. So I'm going to be a little bit meta here. But I feel it's important for me to share my vision for this talk, for this morning, with you all now. So here's my vision in bullet points. This morning is engaging and rewarding for all of us, and for us to collectively make the argument that creative vision is best when it's shared. Because that's what I believe, and I would love some positive affirmations. So we're going to be talking about shared vision. So yeah, this is the point that we start sharing. So what I want to do in this piece is I want to take you through the process of developing a short film, a recent piece of work that we've just made that I'm incredibly proud of. And I'm going to take you from the script that we received from the agency to the final project. Of course, just in brief pieces. But while we're going through that, I would love for this to be a discussion, because I'm not going to take sole responsibility for how this all pans out. So this is on all of us now. Welcome. This is a conversation, it's a brainstorm. I would love for this to be a collaboration between us all. And our objective here is to explore why and how to share vision with others. So I want to share this specific piece. This is a piece of work that I've completed recently with an incredible team of people. It's about Youth Day. It's a tribute to the youth of 1976. It was done through Nedbank, and it just feels right because the subject matter for me feels like it couldn't be more appropriate to this topic, because that is an entire generation that shared a vision for what the country could be. Also, on this particular process, from our perspective, the journey from script to the end product was rather elaborate. There was a lot of evolution, and that was due to an enormous amount of incredible collaborators along the way. And I believe the end product is significantly stronger than the way I saw it based on the initial script, because that vision was shared. So yeah, given all of that, I would love to find out what your vision is for this. Everyone, anyone. I'd also love to give up this microphone. Would anybody like to share what your vision for this morning is? What you were hoping to get out of this morning? What you'd like for this to be now that you know what I've got?
I'll go. Okay, relationships are key, right? And especially in the industry that we're in, never mind in life in general. I haven't been out to one of these kinds of things in a very long time, where you can connect and break bread with fellow creatives and see what the future may hold. Sow a little seed here, a little seed there, and then perhaps in the future, you never know when it'll be time to reap the fruits of your labor. So connectivity, building the relationships, and then learning.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, do you feel that you learn do you feel that you learn differently when you're physically in the same space as people to how you would learn as an individual? Anyone?
100%.
Yeah. And what's the difference? Like, how do we? I don't know.
It's the energy, right?
Yeah.
Having bodies next to you.
Yeah.
And you can't also go in front of a computer, or you can go in front of a computer without wearing any pants. So yeah, you gotta make sure you come.
Okay, so the pants.
It takes a lot more discipline.
So everyone can hear you.
A lot more discipline, obviously, when you in the digital world and that sort of thing. So you've got to kind of like be your own accountability partner. But when you're out here with various creative individuals, intelligent individuals, it's almost like the accountability starts now.
Absolutely, right. And it hits different after the pandemic, after everything went kind of remote. It's really nice to be back and talking to people and, doing the things. Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna read the script for this project that we received, and I'm gonna ask you to envision it and to tell me what you see. So this is the very beginning of the process for me, where I plug into the process as a director. There's an agency, a team of talented people that have put together ideas and bounced ideas around, and they eventually, when their ideas ready, they come to us as the production house and they say, cool, we want you to now make this into a film. So this is what I receive at the very beginning of the process. So I'm just going to read the script to you. It's called The Signwriter. It's for Nedbank's Youth Day Honours Board. So we open on a school hall. Its wooden trims and finishings show that it's a type of stately, modern school you'd find in an affluent suburb. Here we find a signwriter. He's a black, middle-aged man with a sparkle in his eyes, with a paintbrush in one hand and a tin of gold paint in the other. He looks up at the honours board. He's hand-painted over the years. He sits down at an empty space and starts to paint to the latest name. We hear his voice start to narrate over our film as the camera zones in on the fine details of his craft. Voiceover. Some say I'm just a signwriter, that I paint pretty letters onto boards, but I know what I do is so much more. For decades, I've watched pupils have their start in these halls. I've watched them work hard and make a name for themselves, and leave with it written on this board. Every curve, every line, every letter comes together to represent their hard-earned legacy. But not everyone who achieved greatness ended up on these boards. There are those that sacrificed everything, without the promise of being remembered for anything at all. Those who never got to see these halls, but opened their doors for those who followed after them. Those who did not spend years building a legacy, but in just one day changed the course of history. Some say I'm just a signwriter, and maybe that's all I am. But in my life, I have found no greater honor than to be one that ensures history honors them. The visual. The signwriter gets up and reveals the year 1976 next to the student's name. The class of 76 may not have gone to your school, but they made every school what it is today. Visit Nedbank to honor them with us this Youth Day. So, yeah, that was the script that I received. I'm really curious to know any filmmakers, anyone that's not a filmmaker, anyone that's interested, anyone that just, like, what did you see when you read that? Like, what are the literal visuals you saw when you heard that script?
Can't be me again.
I saw my school hall, and I was imagining the boards that were in my school hall and what it would look like for someone to paint that. I don't think I'd ever thought about if someone had actually done that and painted the names or put the names up there. So that was like an interesting visual to have. Whether it is that or not is a different story, I suppose. It was difficult to imagine my school hall in 1976, but I'm sure it looked the same as it does now. And I suppose it made me think about the youth today and what that visual looks like in relation to today.
Absolutely, I hear you, yeah. And I think that's what we kind of all do, is we impose our experiences on what we, when you read fiction and you kind of you project what you understand of the world, and you project your memories and experiences onto, and that's, I guess, kind of part of where our vision starts. And because all of our experiences are shaped by the people around us, by the people in our lives, by the world around us, already we're starting to share, right? You kind of shared certain experiences with an entire school of people that would probably, the first thing that many of them would see when reading this would be more similar to what you saw than what you saw, right? Anybody else have any particular things that they saw?
First of all, congratulations on the various nominations.
Thanks.
For this ad. I also saw my primary school board. I also, I imagined when it started talking about kids that didn't get to become on the board, you saw visions of children seemingly getting ready for school only for when it to come to light that it's about 1976. That it showed them not walking to school but walking to protest, and then you get that very iconic photo of, or every made version of the iconic photo of the 1976 protests.
Okay, Hector Peterson, and you saw, yeah. Cool, and thank you. I think that's it was kind of close to the first thing that I started seeing. I started seeing visions of, I went to kind of imagined my school hall. I imagined other school halls I've been to and vision boards, and honors boards there. But then kind of next came the visuals of 76. Now, of course, this isn't something that I experienced firsthand. So my vision is shaped by the photographers who were brave enough to, defy the law at the time and capture those moments. My vision was shaped by the actions of, the youth of 76. And what we did immediately is, this is Anastasia, she's my producer. She produced the piece that we did. That's my girlfriend Jabu, and that's my best friend Matt. And all of them were involved in this process, along with a lot of other people that brought an enormous amount to this. So immediately started talking about this idea, because I realized this is was like a shit ton of pressure, right? That it's not a light subject matter. It's something that genuinely matters. We're not selling beer or sugary drinks. And it's also something that is tied to a brand. So you don't want, it's really sensitive. You want it to be a respectful piece that doesn't feel exploitative, and I would never want to in any way do that. So we immediately start talking about how do we get to a place where it feels respectful, it feels like it in some way pays tribute to the youth of 76. So I'm going to share an abridged version of my treatment for this. So if anyone that doesn't know, in the commercials and filmmaking industry, basically after you receive the script, the next step is that a director works with their team and develops what's called a treatment, which is a document that basically outlines their vision for this piece. So we had all sorts of conversations and with a number of people, and this is the document that it led to, a very abridged version of it. So I'm going to skim through this really quickly just to give you kind of a rough idea. But something that my treatment hinged around was the idea of the theater of memory. Because I saw those visuals, I felt that the script just see a signwriter and you hear a voiceover, but you don't actually see any of the visuals from 76. And that felt for me like we were missing an opportunity to really transport the viewer and to make a piece that's emotional and that allows for us to feel the impact of what occurred on that day. So a large amount of the concept that we developed was around the idea of portraying the signwriter themselves as somebody that was present in 76 and feeling their memories playing out around them while they're writing this sign. So that was the kind of core to the idea. So yeah, signwriter was a witness, was present during the uprising, and as he's meticulously working on the name on this honors board, he is remembering his personal experiences. So this allows the viewer to plug into a personal moment. So this was my treatment for the story. I'm going to skim through it real quick. I'll show you the actual piece in the end. So our journey begins in the tangible world, in the stately school hall. Our signwriter toils in solitude, infusing each brushstroke with meticulous care and affection. On the wall, the ghostly outline of a once proud honors board lingers, particles of dust dancing in the ambient lights. Basically, we see the signwriter, kind of working on the board, and memories begin to stir. We have some close-up moments of the signwriter dipping his brush in paint. We get closer to this character, and as we get close to this character, we realize that their memory is playing out in his mind. We cut out and we see around him an empty classroom with papers blowing through it. And now this is kind of the beginning of that event, that the classrooms were empty, the students were out to protest, and that's kind of the first symbol. Then a gust of wind hurls dust and papers in a chaotic ballet. We're traversed into a surreal realm. Our signwriter remains unfazed. So the idea for us was that the signwriter is not the memories are playing out in the space around the signwriter, but we're seeing what's in his mind. He's not seeing them physically. He is in the room, but we as an audience are allowed into this character's mind as these events play out literally in the school hall around him. So the vision for this piece wasn't to just cut to traditional flashbacks where we move, back in time. It's that we show that these memories are still present in this moment now, that they still live with this character, that they're here, they're tangible. So things begin to escalate, and we begin to see kind of some more violence in the protest. We see tear gas being hurled through the space. We see a chained Alsatian barking and snarling. Essentially, we begin to kind of see some of those horrific and tragic visuals from 76. There was an idea that the signwriter's paintbrush catches a light, just as a symbol of the pain that he's experiencing and the violence that he is remembering. He remembers a character being kind of dragged along the floor by the apartheid police and military force. Our focus narrows to our signwriter once more, the soundscape crescendoing, sirens, military vehicles, dogs, urgent barking, then an abrupt silence as he blinks. We match cut to the determined face of a young man encircled by swirling smoke. The soundscape becomes a vacuum. The boy swiftly turns his head, and we cut to several army boots leading muddy prints as they storm through the school hall. The lifting boot corresponds with the brushstroke's completion. So you get the idea. We're creating moments from iconic photographs, from the material that we have from the day, that occur in the school hall while this character is painting the sign. Ultimately, we reveal that the date next to the name he's painting is 76, and we're moving in chronological order: 2020, 21, 22, 23, 1976. And the idea is that the past and the present are connected in this moment, and we're paying tribute to the youth of 76. So he inhales deeply, and we cut to black. The class of 76 may not have gone to your school, but they made every school what it is today, honoring the class of 76. So that was the treatment. This is a bit of the look and feel. This is the kind of the aesthetic, roughly. So next we have the film, and I want to call out a couple of things that came from collaboration in this piece. One of the things that came from conversation with Anna was, let's go to the museum. Let's go to the museum with with members of our crew. Let's experience it together. And we all went and we discussed. We experienced it. We felt a greater sense of connection due to it. And we also found specific things. Like if you look at that image of that sign that is at the very top left, that's a kind of direct recreation of a sign that is held in the museum from the day. Chatted to our colorist early on in the process. Colorist is a color grader, the guy who changes the vibe of the image, and he said he came up with an incredible idea of emulating the film stock that would have been used in that day, a specific kind of black and white Kodak Tri-X film stock. And we used that to determine what our look would be. We chatted with the production designer, and we kind of spoke about what the set is going to be, and how, if we're going to put a classroom in this hall, is it just like a normal layout of desks, or does it feel like the memory tapers off? And that came from the production designer. That the idea is that the desks actually collapse and shrink and fall over on the fringes. So it's like these memories are kind of fading out, and you just see bits and pieces. You just see a doorway. You just see the little bits of the memory that are still with the character, as opposed to a photorealistic execution of it. Another idea that came up was resurrecting a carnation. So in the film, you'll see a shot early on where there's a dead flower on top of the signwriter's box of tools, and at the very end the flower is resurrected, and it becomes a symbol of really wow, that's embarrassing.
See if Lisa can help us connect.
Cool, I'm connected, so it's in the meantime, while we figure this out, are there any questions, anything that is jumping out at anyone?
Hello. Who's the actor? voiceover quite sterile? So is the voiceover going to be the actor, or is it just the voiceover?
I'm glad you asked that. So part of my treatment for this was to not use voiceover, was to tell the story with visuals as opposed to with words. And that's, I guess, quite also a literal example of, talking about vision. That was what we discussed with the team. And, and another thing to mention there is that there was, an initial team that had written that script and written that voiceover, but they were also willing to share their vision with us and say, okay, we understand that you want to treat this differently, and we now see your vision for it, which is without the voiceover. Yeah. Okay, let's have another try here. I'm just going to try and... You think it's on now? Very good. Amazing. Cool, thank you. Yeah, so that was the piece, and that was I'm really keen to chat about anything that anyone's curious about the journey. I'm keen to talk about those initial questions: that is vision inherently individual, or can it be shaped and shared collectively from the start? Is sharing a vision compromise, or can the end product be more than the sum of its parts? Anyone got anything to ask, say?
I was thinking about the actors and specifically the children, the young youth, and I was wondering what was that dynamic like in that relationship in terms of the vision of the final outcome or the final product? Like, how did you communicate the vision to them, or how was it communicated to them? Like, how did they embody or understand that experience? Especially because it's such a complex thing that happens, and there's obviously a huge impact in terms of contemporary youth, and also it's still so complex now in terms of what they experience and what they go through. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we were very fortunate. Firstly, we were very fortunate. I think we found some incredible talent, some really strong young performers, and I think that we found talent that were able to because part of acting is vision as well. It's, you know, they were able to see something that they personally hadn't experienced and connect to that and connect to those emotions. What I found in some ways rather tragic about the process was how easy it was for a lot of the young talent to connect to the experiences that are portrayed here, because I think it made it apparent to me quite how much these wounds still affect South Africa. So to be honest, I wish it was harder to access the emotions that were portrayed, but you know, the youth were very in touch with that. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah.
So if you've got the talent, you obviously need to shoot a wider picture, because the frames that you chose, how did you go about choosing those particular frames? Because, I don't know, the old man jarring sometimes. He was standing out, but I mean, and that's your vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want more pictures. And more sound. I want but you've only got 45 seconds. How long is it?
No, it's long, it's like 2 minutes.
Is it 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Felt like 45 seconds.
So, how did we go about choosing those frames? A lot of the frames were informed by photography from the time and place. We definitely intended for the old man to stand out from the memories around him. That's very much, you know, the design of the frames, is that we want to feel as though this character is, you know, at the center of this storm of memory, and he is this kind of still point that his memories are playing out, you know, around the character. So we chose a lot of the frames by figuring out how to basically superimpose imagery from 76 onto this character's, you know, onto this character's moment in the hall at the time.
And then his face, I mean, how did you go about deciding that you wanted the beard,
So, I mean, largely
profile, and
the primary, you know, kind of decision maker there was the performer's ability to, you know, feel like they are accessing something from their past. And you know, this actor Dumisani, I think was, you know, really strong in that regard. We added the scar to his cheek to tie him to the young kid with the scar, and you know that if you're looking, you can connect that character to the younger version, the glasses, etc. But yeah.
Morning everybody, Zee, massive fan of your work, bro. I think what you've been able to convey in this piece is astounding. I'm interested in two things. So how were you able to convey to Dumisani, the incredible actor? He's very still in a lot of the pictures there. You're able to juxtapose it with a lot of visceral qualities. And the second point is how are you able to sort of put together stillness and depth and viscera in your form. Very nice work, massive fan.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think stillness. I feel like it is important to us to not feel like we are glamorizing or trying to like shine or like add like cinematic, you know, like gimmicks or tricks or, you know, what. Also, a lot of how we've experienced 76 today has been in still imagery. So it's also why, you know, the kind of the choice of slow motion, in such extreme slow motion, we used the Phantom to shoot at, you know, really high frame rates, was that it feels like these still moments that this character's remembering. And that's also part of, you know, the kind of the reason that we opted for quietness. And, you know, I kind of like that you wanted more sound, right? Like it's
But it might
It's that I wanted the audience, we wanted the audience to feel as though you're experiencing memories that are visceral and connected to this character's soul, but they're also distant. And we wanted to, our task was to try to bridge the gap between 76 and today. So yeah, I hope that somewhat answers.
Sorry, one of the elements to striking me was there was a car that passed right by his face in that shot. And were you able, how did you do that on set? Was it on set? And some elements, or was it
No, it was all on set. Speaking of the shared vision, I mean, this was a one-night shoot, and it was a very intensive process, but the entire team understood what we were doing. They understood the importance of it. They, every single member of the team understood how complicated, they say, like, don't shoot with animals, don't shoot with kids, don't shoot at night. And we're like, yes, okay, good. We'll listen to that. We had an animal wrangler who was able to, understand, and between our DP and the animal wrangler, who was able to explain, kind of the position where we wanted we wanted that dog to be in frame while blocking out the various layers of the piece. And it was, and I think that the idea of having the dog in silhouette only came on the day as we were shooting at it, because the DP, Adam, looked at it and was like, I don't want to put light on this. I just want this to feel almost like shadow puppetry. And we all said, yeah, that feels right, that's powerful. And that was just another way that his vision just added layers to the piece.
Hi, thank you. So I'm going to stand up. Thanks for sharing your process. So I'm just curious, we're talking about shared vision today, but there is a fine line between collaborative vision or collaboration and design by committee. I mean, at the end of the day, while your name is director there, you're tasked with keeping an eye on the ball, keeping that central vision. We're speaking a lot here about the creative process, but there's also the struggle, compromises, etc. Can you talk a little bit just from your personal process on managing a team of different creators? Obviously, these are people you trust, you work with regularly. But how do you ensure to get the best result, what's right for the project, and not, let's say, what's right for the group?
Cool, thank you for that question. Yeah, I think that's a really important question. I think, like, immediately when you hear the term like collaboration by committee, there's like a negative connotation to that. I think we often feel like it's when there's too many chefs. It's that kind of expression. I think that it comes down to choosing the right committee, right? Because with the right people, it doesn't feel like the ideas are diluting the idea. I think the kind of idea of creativity by committee becomes problematic, specifically when the vision isn't shared. So I think that the job of a director is to make, I believe, the job of the director is to lead that vision, is to share the vision with to get everybody onto the same page. I think that's personally, I see that as our job as directors. There are some directors that are incredibly talented directors whose work I'm sure we all love and respect, that are much more specific to people get onto set and they don't know what scene they're shooting. They hold off bits of the process. People in different parts of the team understand different bits of it. Nobody really knows what they're all like. I think Lars von Trier is a bit like that. Like, nobody really knows what's up until they're in the edit. And you can make incredible work like that. You can make incredible work with a single vision. I just think that that's a bit European.
My question, in terms of what you just mentioned now, in regard to the script, you made a choice not to use the voiceover, which I thought made it even greater, using the black and white and the sound, and you told the story well. My question is in regards to when you get a script and you feel like it doesn't align, or there's something that you disagree with, or you don't even see a vision for it the way you want to execute it. How does it work in your industry? Is it a thing where you can speak with the writer, or is it they give you a brief and you need to follow it without any major drastic changes?
Yeah, we don't know how it works in our industry. No, so basically the way it works is that directors are presented scripts that, you know, an agency typically an agency chooses 3 different directors to present their script to, and the directors then do a treatment on it. The agency chooses one of the 3. So directors audition. So we audition our vision, and they choose our vision. But at the same time, we're not permanently employed. So when we're presented with a script, if we don't want to do it, we don't have to do it. So we can choose. And if there's and often, we'll be presented with scripts that we feel like, hey, there's a way that, kind of we see it as a production house that we think can be stronger, that would change something or omit something. And you then kind of discuss that with the agency up front. And so much of our industry is navigating those dynamics because, the agency also have a client that they're trying to share the vision with. And sometimes we might be like, okay, cool, we're gonna remove the voiceover, we're gonna, do all of this, and everybody loves that. But the client's got, like a board somewhere that's ticked some boxes and they've approved something specific. So, yeah, it really varies on a case-by-case basis, and sometimes sometimes you believe that a project is going to, evolve and grow, and ultimately it doesn't. Sometimes you believe a project's not going to grow, and it does in ways that you don't expect. It really varies. Yeah, I mean, I think as directors, as commercial filmmakers, we all have different methods and ways of attempting to do that. In an ideal world, it's to feel like we're all collaborating. It's to I think people, you trust people that trust you, and so kind of just ideally fostering an environment of trust, and kind of also, for me personally, I really love what I do, and I'm very passionate about it, and I'm excited about it, and I try to share that excitement, and I think that kind of seeing that something can be, trying to see that something can be beautiful and say we can all make something beautiful is is something that can put people at ease and and allow them to trust the vision.
Bringing the clients in initially in a collaboration process together.
Yeah, it really depends, and it also depends on the agency's relationship with the client, because the way that it works on a practical business sense is that as a production house, our client is the agency, not necessarily directly their brand or their, so it's when an agency has a good relationship with their client, then it's more likely that we will have a good relationship with everyone, and it often isn't the case. So yeah, I mean, there are certain agencies that are able to foster certain relationships with clients that allow for more trust. I think in this case, Joe Public have an incredible relationship with Nedbank and with their with Kenzie at Nedbank, who's just somebody that really has vision. And a part of her vision is to let the people that she's entrusted with the creative work for Nedbank do their job without too much interference, and to trust them. And yeah, so ironically, her vision is not specific, it's specific to the brand as at large, as opposed to, like what paintbrush this character is using, which some clients would go, like, that's what we're going to talk about for an hour.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I just thank you for not making it pretty, because I think with the skin we carry, we have a responsibility to not water down and to not undermine the experience. So I think earlier on in some of the comments, I wanted to say, well, the talent, it's easy for them to reach to that because it's a lived experience. They live in it, it's the everyday. And then it kind of brought me to thinking, as creatives, the responsibility we have in these creative spaces is, now we know it's a brand. We have to be totally honest in the room. You're working with a brand. In that process, what were the conversations like? Because this brand has evolved. Its image wasn't like this in 76. And the people whose story you're telling were not really aligned with this brand back then. So how do you, in that space, with conversations around taking a memory that's owned by the people to create a piece of art that you are not necessarily lived in that experience at the time? Is there someone in the room that you're working with that is from that experience or perhaps knows the feel? And then the conversation with agency around, hey, brand reputation at the time and what the brand culture is now, way different spectrums of the table. And have you engaged, has anyone even popped that up, and what has that been like? And then I also wanted to commend you for not using vocals in the soundscape, because that tends to segregate and make 76 feel like Soweto, and 76 was national. There may not be other pictures documented from other provinces, but it was national. So that sound really allows for others to join in and also gives that emotive feel in terms of the audience. But let's chat about that conversation around our responsibility with people's stories, people's history, and the brands, and what the brands were doing and how they were playing a part in that narrative.
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. I think there's a few questions in there, and I'll try and kind of address them all. I think one part of it is Kenzie's vision for the brand. It's obviously Kenzie's taken over the marketing of Nedbank and has ideally wanted to transform the brand and also make use of her influence to make work that she feels has social relevance, and it's kind of plays into social responsibility, particularly because the origins of the brand are at such deep odds with the subject matter of this piece. And I think that's something we were highly aware of, and it's why there isn't a big Nedbank logo in this piece. It's not, and we kind of looked at it as they're paying for us to make a film that pays tribute to, as opposed to, this isn't an advert for Nedbank. You know what I mean? And I think that was an enormous part of the part of the discussion, and not something I think anyone would have felt comfortable with. Regarding how much connection we have had to the subject matter and it being a lived experience, I think I personally plug into it in certain ways. My father was a political activist and was in exile. I was born in exile and only returned in 1994 when my father was literally allowed to come back into the country. So I kind of grew up in surrounded by these feelings, this conversation, this circumstance. So, and of course, as a result of my father's friendships and circles, throughout my entire life I've been connected to people that have been deeply intertwined with this subject matter. On top of this, another part of the process was connecting with family members of some of the children that lost their lives. I think that there were essentially we were absolutely aware of and absolutely did our best to make sure that we were being respectful and making informed decisions, and capturing, as you say, the spirit, because it wasn't just Soweto. It was it was an entire generation, and that we're trying to honor that.
Awesome.
think we'll wrap it up there. I'm just cognizant of time. Zee, thank you for letting us into your work. I think we could absolutely go on forever asking questions. And I'm sure Zee would be open to any conversations afterwards. I think there's a lot to kind of unpack with this piece and maybe some of your other work. But thank you everyone for coming through. Zee, I do have a thank you for you, just for making time.
Thank you.
And the effort. And the effort to just kind of put together this piece of work for us and bring us into it. We'll wrap it off here. We'll have our next event in November, and that will be announced pretty soon. But that is it for today. Creative Mornings Joburg is done for the first session.